New generation we've been watching over the last 15 years, Kendrick is the king of hip hop, and it's not even close. And I'm not talking about
Those
charts. I'm not
artists that we
talking.
call forever artists.
Okay, define that for me.
He could disappear for 5 years or something like that and come back and
For a rapper in a year, you made history already.
I'ma do myself. Why you pulling like a bitch, ain't you? Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably.
Who is the greatest rapper ever? The perpetual argument of hip-hop. Everyone has their opinion of the greatest rapper, dead or alive. And it's never long before comparisons start being drawn between the past and present pioneers who each stake a strong claim to the throne. Nas, Rakim, Jay-Z, Tupac, Eminem, B.I.G. The list goes on. The untimely and often tragic death of rappers can elevate them from stars of their era to bona fide legends in hip-hop. I'm not suggesting a direct correlation between death and the success of rappers like Biggie or Big L, even if there was some truth in this. That rappers become martyrs from dying doing what they love. Who is to say where these men would be today? Biggie probably never made a bad song in his life, and who knows what else he would have been able to achieve. On the flip side, DMX was a legend, but not so much these days. Big L had 5 albums, releasing only 1 album in his short but profound career. All Eyes on Me was Tupac's 4th and final album to be released prior to his death in 1996. Both their posthumous careers are a credit to the relevancy of their music through the ages. But to those who think this discussion is premature and Kendrick hasn't paid his dues, we live in a world that immortalizes the dead. And it shouldn't take something as ultimate as death for us to realize how special the likes of Big L or Pac really were or Kendrick is. Sad but true. Let's get another thing out of the way. I'm well aware any label stating Kendrick Lamar as the greatest rapper to have ever lived is uncommon and, in some circles, borderline blasphemous. No, we aren't speaking of a rapper enjoying the twilight years of an illustrious career or one that has unfavorably passed away. In fact, you're probably thinking, at the very least, maybe a bit too soon. Fair enough. The recurring rags to riches theme has underpinned hip-hop as a reflection of the rappers' lives. And as a young boy, I couldn't work out how hip-hop artists, many of whom were former convicts, could maintain the lifestyle of the generic hustler from selling drugs to violent crime, but somehow still managed to make it on stage by the evening. I suppose it was some kind of get-out-of-jail-free card that always had credit. Naive, I suppose I was to assume this dual life of crime and fame existed, but I don't think I was the only one guilty of this assumption. I suppose Bobby S.H. Murda had the same kind of thinking, much to the detriment of his albeit short life of fame. I guess I was almost relieved to find out rappers' lyrics were not a true reflection of their lives, but the realization left me disappointed. I mean, why glorify the hustle when you are one of the lucky few who no longer have to do any hustling? I began questioning what hip-hop stood for. Why did hip-hop fail to address the problems of its communities? What was the whole purpose of hip-hop? Today's music makes you say, it doesn't make sense, but shit sounds nice. But is that enough to sustain the genre?
What we are witnessing is the biggest change in hip-hop.
Where trap and other types of experimental rap have given birth to alternative hip-hop subgenres. Heavy bass-led production with very little lyrical substance. Despite how fiery the beats of the new age are, the bottom line is mumble rap and other forms of rap today lack rationality and purpose. What we are witnessing is the biggest change in hip-hop. Where trap and other types of experimental rap have given birth to alternative hip-hop subgenres. Heavy bass-led production with very little lyrical substance. What we are witnessing is the biggest change in hip-hop, where trap and other types of experimental rap have given birth to alternative hip-hop subgenres. Heavy bass-led production with very little lyrical substance. In what can only be described as a cinematic mindfuck of rhythmic clarity, Kendrick Lamar's politically charged lyrics highlight both the internal and external ills, trials and tribulations of an everyday working-class African-American, illustrating a true depiction of his society, one vivid masterpiece at a time. Over the past decade, he has owned his craft, studying those who have come before him and drawing upon these influences to create music soaked in the origins of hip-hop in every sense of the word: enlightenment, representation, and education. For me, that's what separates me as an artist. I'm going to give you the gift, and I'm going to give you the curse. Kendrick Lamar. Over the past decade, he has owned his craft. I began questioning what did hip-hop stood for. Why did hip-hop fail to address the problems from its communities? What was the whole purpose of hip-hop? Lamar's lyrics. Any great lyricist, writer, or speaker understands one thing: the way you convey your message is equally as important as the message itself. Equipped with the wisdom of a 1,000-year-old prophet, Kendrick weaves together vivid imagery and conceptualizes narratives, big and small, that you may just find go over your head, under your feet, or right through your soul. The closer you pay attention to the words of Kendrick, the greater the understanding of yourself. Accompanied by faultless infused production and instrumentation, each song takes a leaf out the book from a multitude of eras and genres, often simultaneously blues, rap, 90s R&B, 70s funk, rock, gospel, spoken word, 60s jazz, soul. Through his discography, you'll find nearly every genre effortlessly interlaced as an ingredient of his expression. You really can't categorize my music, it's human music. Fashion has always been a fundamental aspect of expressionism when it comes to hip-hop, even more so now as it spills into other genres and becomes more prominent in modern culture. When you think of hip-hop in the commercial world, it's hard not to resonate with collaborations such as Kanye West and Adidas or Michael Jordan and Nike. But Kendrick's collaboration with Reebok was arguably the most slept on. Money will always play a major role in commercially successful collabs. However, the red and blue Reebok ventilators signified a premise more than just money. They addressed Kendrick's key take on the social commentary of gang violence in his hometown of Compton. And it's hard to discover a greater way an artist has used their platform to shine a light on a social issue so prominent in their community. The last to do so in such a way for the Black community in America were human rights activists. In recognition of his dedication to promoting unity and enlightening those who follow him, I never find it too incomprehensible to categorize Kendrick Lamar outside of hip-hop against socio-political figures such as Martin Luther King, the same way I compare other great rappers to one another, because whilst their mediums may differ, what they aim to achieve is the same. It's evident the frustration Lamar wears on his shoulders. The burden of carrying hip-hop is heavier than the ground he walks on. His music refuses to allow what hip-hop has always stood for to dissipate into a genre of no meaning. Neither will he fret to challenge what he sees as obstacles to maintaining this purpose, with lyrics that often provide enough information about his perspective without giving too much by way of his own opinion. This is why I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism in recent years. Addressing Geraldo Rivera's take on hip-hop sampled in Kendrick's latest. Kendrick is creatively topical in the way he presents his insights and perspectives. I don't do it for the gram, I do it for Compton. ADHD, death, suicide, and politics. Whether addressing drug tolerance on ADHD, presenting an unapologetic, honest take on death and suicide on You, or exploring the works of political figures and Black empowerment on He Power, Kendrick is creatively topical in the way he presents his insights and perspectives. In each song, his cadence accompanies a completely new personality that serves as the perfect vessel to the ears and mind of any listener. From the transition from K-Dot to Kendrick on Good Kid M.A.A.D. City, the evil temptress Lucy in To Pimp a Butterfly, or the alter ego on Damn, Kung Fu Kenny, the seamless intensity of his delivery illustrates the symbolism of each character and personality. It's not uncommon for rappers to bite flows, ad-libs, or even names from one another. Today you can even get away with calling yourself 22 Savage after a relatively new rapper in 21 Savage and still be relatively successful. Whilst labels are not so important these days, rap has continued to evade the term conscious rap. It's seen to confine artists who enjoy the benefits of collaborating with artists and creating music outside of their genre. Hip-hop, as with all genres, is heavily policed by agents of political correctness, aka the internet, who are always quick to question, challenge, or oppose what they see as contradictions to an artist's personal views and the ever-changing definition of consciousness. The reality is hip-hop's roots were built from consciousness. Tupac, Public Enemy, Mos Def, Eminem, and KRS-One were conscious rappers whether we choose to accept this or not. It's what hip-hop and rap once stood for, building consciousness through music. And when you come to think about the history of hip-hop, it's conscious rappers that have elevated the genre with purpose. Political or conscious rap is hip-hop. Each project is a concise reflection of where Kendrick finds himself on this journey of self-discovery, mastering and decrypting the art form of rap, as done by those before him. Here is a man who understands what rap once stood for, who trolls mainstream hip-hop for what it has become, who provokes the demeaning nature of the genre's artists, and who effortlessly shifts between political rhetoric and personal awareness and reflection. More importantly, he's made it look sexy by popularizing consciousness in rap, paving the way for artists such as J. Cole and Joey Bada Dollar to follow suit. Whatever the topic of discussion, the sense of purpose in his lyrics and production are nothing short of mesmerizing with each song.